This is Ted with Let Off the Clutch, brought to you by my biker attorney. I've got two friends of mine today, Kermit Lottie and Tommy Bolton, Tombo. Guys, thanks for coming on. One of you really didn't know you were coming on today, did you?
I don't know. We're going to blindside me.
Well, we were talking this for one on the air. I call this Let Off the Clutch because I just want to promote motorcycling in Oklahoma and talk about it and what you love to do and what I love to do. It's what I've been doing for a long, long time.
Right.
And so have you guys too. So just kind of want to visit a little bit, just a little bit, say hello. Tommy, a quote, living legend is what I keep.
Yeah, I've been riding since I was probably 9 years old, something like that.
That in Southern California?
Yeah, in Southern California. You know, teacher, a guy named one of my teachers. I was in the 6th grade. He was named Mr. Hart,
Okay.
and Mr. Hart gave me my opportunity behind one of them guitars right there. You know, and that's how I started with mini bikes and motorcycles.
How the hell you get from guitar to mini bike
He
motorcycle?
told me that he was having trials for Mr. Hart's homeroom band. So I was like, cool, I'm gonna be in it. And I tried, and he told me, he said, Tom, I want you in our band, but I only got one guitar to give out. So I'm giving that to one of the other guys. If you second place, but I'm gonna give it to him. So you buy your own guitar and you can be in the band still. So I was like, cool. So I went home and talked to my mom, and we went to the pawn shop that weekend and put one in layaway. But heck, my mom never did get it out of the layaway. So Mr. Hart told me I couldn't hang around. So there was a guy in my classroom named Seti Black that stayed across the street from the school. And I started hanging out at his house, and he had a mini bike that his brothers had gave him that was tore up. And here I am now.
Quite a road since then.
I got the mini bike running, and we raced up and down the street by the school, and that's where I spent my 5th and 6th period at.
Just racing motorcycles down the street.
No, we started with that one mini bike.
So building it.
And building that mini bike, and that was it. That's all I needed right there.
That transition from there to racing, or what?
A transition from there to walking through the neighborhoods and where I grew up at. Anybody would love that area where I grew up. I grew up on 120th and Main, and you're going south, you're gonna run into all kind of shops and all kind of car shops and stuff. That's where I picked up a lot of the racing stuff, you know. And then at the age of 13, 14, I was digging in a trash can, and the guy came out there and told me, "Hey, what are you doing, kid?" So I'm looking for some of these drag bike magazines. And then he said, "Well, come to the door and you can see all you want." And the guy I'm talking about was Byron Hines of Vance and Hines, and we became friends then.
Nice. One of the famous motorcycle engine exhaust builders of the world.
Yeah.
Probably the best of all.
Yeah. So
Now, how'd you get into racing itself, though?
I was going to the track watching all of those guys. And then then when I was 15, I was at another track. I was at a track called Irvindale, California, that where everybody raced. And I ran into a white guy named Honda Jim there. And Honda Jim was like a legend in itself at the time. I ran into him and his bike. He dropped his helmet, and I picked up his helmet. And then I said, "Well, you want me to give you a hand?" And I pushed his bike up to the line, and that became my my love of drag bikes. I always loved them. I always liked watching them, and I would see them going down the street, and I was like, just daydreaming the day that I could get on one of these things. But when I hooked up with him, all of that stuff came kind of easy with him, So Honda Jim took me to my first motorcycle race. That was and I was 15. He took me to Phoenix City, Alabama. And he was racing for this company that's still around named MTC. So he got the okay from my mom and dad for me to take some time off from school, and I went, so that was a love of drag bikes.
Hooked ever since.
Yeah.
And then you, I mean, we're jumping ahead now, but your fame came a little bit later in Texas, right?
I can't. My fame, I wouldn't call it fame because I'm just an average guy, That's just trying to, make ends meet, But my love of the racing came. But you got to think about a bunch of things, I pioneered a lot of stuff in motorcycles that yet, I'm not trying to say I need credit for it, but I was there, and I think I did a lot for the industry, and seen a lot of people. The motorcycles has sent me damn near everywhere. It's sent me here and there, and everything. So I blame it on the motorcycles. So I love that stuff.
And I was kind of leading toward when you broke the 200-mile barrier for an African American.
Well, and that was done. That was done in April of 1990. You got to think that was done back in the day where you didn't have any computers. You didn't have none of that stuff. You had to have a bunch of people and all of that little stuff. And I put all that stuff together out of my little shop in California at the time.
But the race was in Texas, I think it was.
The race was in Texas, but we traveled all over.
Now, what bike was that?
It was a Suzuki funny bike, they call it. I bought the rolling chassis from a guy named T.J. Hausmeister, and then I put my motor and put all my stuff in it. And the thing that I like, that people was, of course, everybody was like, they couldn't believe how incredible fast the thing was, but I did it all myself. I had help from other people, of course, but the thing that's more impressive now, you can buy just about anything off the internet to make a bike go 200 miles an hour now. But back then, you couldn't buy anything.
You had limited resources too. Sure.
And then, and then they didn't have, we didn't have internet back then.
No, we didn't have a lot of things back then.
We had a rotary phone,
Now, I brought along Kermit. Now, you guys have been friends for quite a while.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are you out of California too?
No, Oklahoma City, right?
Oklahoma City. So what got you in a motorcycle?
Man, I was a kid. I was riding horses. My dad's from the country.
You told me that.
I started riding horses first. Then he bought me a dirt bike, 175. I was probably about 10 years old, 10, 11, somewhere around there. He bought me a dirt bike, 125 Yamaha. And he bought it from a friend of his that worked the same job. So a friend of ours heard from my dad's friends heard for some money. So he sold a bike to my dad, and it I call it a dirt bike, but it was, I guess, like kind of like an enduro, had a tag and license plates and all that stuff, but it had knobby tires on it. And so my dad bought it and gave it to me. So and I got to ride it, and I kicked the horse to the side after that. And this was a lot more fun. Horse you got to feed, you got to give it water and take care of. But that bike was a lot different, But my dad rode bikes, so we had a bunch of go-karts, mini bikes and stuff in the garage and stuff. But that bike was something different.
Now, I met you through Tommy from racing, and you got the fast green bike. So what got you into racing?
Well, when I got in high school, actually, me and Nickelberry, another guy, friend of mine, we grew up together. He seen, me riding a dirt bike. I put him on his first dirt bike, which was my bike. He's 4 years older than me. His dad would have bought him a 50. He asked my dad first, what do you think about me getting my son a motorcycle? Your son got one. He said, well, it's a good thing and a bad thing. But he said, you're going to come home one day and all your gas and your lawnmower gas and your can going to be gone. You're going to go cut your grass, think you're going to get gas, and a can is no more gas, He said, but they'll never start riding. So me and Nick was like, old man, know what they're talking about. And here it is, 30, 40 years later, we still ride, But to get into motorcycle racing, we had started street racing. Me and Nickelberry started street racing. We was in high school. But to back up, it was a motorcycle shop in our neighborhood. A guy, he worked there, named, by the way, James Guyton. We sure the motorcycles were up, in the neighborhood could hear from along. So we walk over there. We look inside the door, And we looking at all the motorcycles and all this equipment they was doing. And when they turned around and look at the door, we ducked back like we was getting in trouble. We ain't supposed to be looking. And we did this every day pretty much. And so one day the guy told us to come on in the building, look around, And so we look around, and after that, because I had the dirt bike and been riding, so we got into high school. So me and Nick after high school, we would ride around to the different places that had the Ducatis on Broadway, down on 10th and Broadway. They had Ducatis and Lamborghinis and, and Shelby cars inside this building. We go, one kind of window shop. So when we get older, get going, we're going to get this kind of car, and it never happened, but, So, but then I get my first street bike, which was a 500, CBR 500, which was my dad's, it's kind of like a Goldwing. And right, and all that on it. But when he gave it to me, I took all that off. I took the windjammer off, the sport, I took everything off. So my dad kind of got upset with me because he saw I messed a good bike up. But I wanted to be in the cool bunch. I didn't want to be around with the old man, windshield and all that saddlebag, so I took all that stuff off it. And Nick had a 400, LGD 400. And we made some homemade wheelie bars. Because we seen the older guys doing it, And so we went from there, man, to start street racing. Then street racing, I think 92. Yeah, 92 is when they opened the track up right here with the time. Huh? They opened the track out here in 92, didn't they? Yeah. They opened the track up in 92. So everybody got excited the track was opening. So now we're going to take the street racing to the track.
Is that about the time you met Tom?
Yeah, Tom came down for a race. We was having a Soul Brother race in 92. And he came by and he was at James Guyton's house. And James was having some problems with some bikes they couldn't get tuned or get running. So Tom went over and spent I think a couple of days getting everything going. Got the bikes up and running. And one of the days of the race, we was getting the bikes loaded up and get ready to head out to the track. But I had heard about him before I even met him, through some friends that knew him. Matter of fact, one of the guys that Tom raised in the motorcycle stuff that was out here, before Tom come out here, I met, he had talked about Tom and, like Tom was like his sensei, you know what I mean? So, and he talked about Tom and right before Tom came, we was street racing and I worked in a body shop. And the guy I worked for, he raced cars. And he had this picture on his post on his wall in his office. And it was a picture of, I think it was Byron Hines. Mm-hmm. Tommy had a Yamaha that had 3 spark plugs per cylinder. And had the fairing and the big tire and all this stuff. And I told my boss, I said, man, I'm going to get one of the bikes when you're with that big tire. He said, no, younks. He said, that ain't for everybody. He said, everybody can just get one of them. I said, I'm getting one day. But when I met Tom, I had an old Kawasaki 1000. It wasn't really fast, but it was just something to have fun. It ran low 11s, but this just wasn't fun. It had 1075 kits, noise cams, but it wasn't really fast. But I was having fun with it. And when Tom came down, that's when I started going fast. Yeah, real fast. And he made it to, like he said, he did a lot for the industry because it made it, for a lot of those guys that were sure trying to race, we didn't know much about motors and how to build. And so when people do stuff for us, they was kind of getting over. So when Tom got it, he opened a lot of eyes to a lot of stuff that was wrong. I wouldn't say wrong, but just turned the other way.
Better.
Right. So he made it better and he opened it up and he seen it. And he made a lot of people dreams that going fast and racing, he made it happen and he made it easier for a lot of us guys. And I told him, like last year we were racing and we was trying to see, Tom, I said, you really made it, man. If a guy don't race no more, if I could say, hey, I done it. And we took, we was in Norwalk, Ohio one time. And I say St. Louis. Everybody's come out with them 20,000, 30,000 motors, and they got us, the big, sponsors and all that, and man, we got a motor that's $3,500, and we go out there, man, dude, and we tune it on the ground. We ain't got all them big stuff, the quick machines and equipment nice stuff, caveman style, and Tom get up there with his test light, man, and we in 1997, Tom put a bike together and we built it and put it down. Out there, Tom say, and everybody was changing over to turbos. I said, no, I don't want a turbo. I'm going to stay with my carbureted nitrous, And I didn't really like nitrous, but I learned to love it. So Tom said, he said, we might go out there and run some 6s this weekend and kind of surprise everybody. So we both kind of laughed. Man, we got out there that weekend and we had 3 qualifying passes and we didn't get in. The first 2, we didn't get in. So we had 1 pass left and either get in or to go home, And, so we got to the staging lanes and guys say, man, the wheelie bars are too low, so I keep unloading the truck. We kept spinning. So raise the wheelie bars up. So Tom said, it's our last one, When we got out there, man, and boy, you told me it went. Went 192 miles an hour and a 716. I had never been that fast ever in my life. So my pit man, he come pick me up and he said, man, And I'm cussing, like, man, that's a messed up pass. I'm bumping the box, hitting the rev limit, and spinning. Nothing's going right. And he said, man, you know what you want? I said, no, it was a slow pass. He said, man, you the man. And he told me what I ran. Boy, we was all shocked. We was all shocked. And everybody come over to look at the bike. And the bike was really simple. It was a $3,500 motor versus a $20,000 motor. They're trying to figure out how you get this thing to run like this. It was simple. We didn't have all the whistles and bells on it because we didn't, a lot of stuff we bought, we didn't know how to work it or put it on. And I just wanted to keep it simple because I didn't understand none of it. You know, Tom did. But, man, he made it fly, man. You know, it made it fly.
He's made a lot of them.
Yes. But let me tell you a story, though. In 1992, when Tom came down, he had a bike called Flintstone Flyer.
Flintstone.
And the bike, second gear was out. Second gear was out, the bike was out. So one guy from Dallas named D.A., he said, I ain't, you know, Tommy, he do this to the bikes, he do that to the bike. And, you know, I'm not going to take him lightly. I'm not going to talk. I don't do nothing. I just ride. You know, I'm going to listen to these guys. I didn't get buddy. I didn't really know Tom that good at the time, but I'm just listening to him. You know, I didn't really know D.A. at the time, but they all knew about Tom. Tom said, I don't do nothing. I just ride. So I'm sitting there, my boss, he was, at the time, he was fighting counsel. And he was there. No, I don't think I take that back. He wasn't fighting counsel yet, but he was there. So, I mean, I was talking. I had my back turned to the track. And I heard something take off. First time I was in a turbo bike. I heard something take off. And I'm looking for the airplane. I hear the sound. I'm looking for the airplane. I look up. Oh, man. You something to work hard. He left. He had one foot on the peg and one foot wasn't on the peg. That right foot, you know, you take the other peg, you got the zip in the back, you zip the leg up. He didn't zip it up. And when that bike took off, from where Devil touched the ground, he didn't have second gear. Second gear was bad on the bike. Hey, he went from first gear to third and never missed a stroke. And I thought that was a work of art. From right then, I was racing. But when I seen that, I was done with my bike. I wanted something different.
You wanted Tommy to build you something?
Yeah, I wanted something different. Yeah, and that's what it was. And ever since then, man, it's been a journey, man. It's been good. We didn't travel all over the United States.
I forgot to ask you something. That bike that you broke 200 miles an hour in, it's the first African American to do that. Mm-hmm. Where's that bike now?
Man, I need to find it.
That belongs in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I done had people call me. I done had people call me from Indianapolis, Chicago. A guy called me from NHRA and asked me, where's that bike at? You know, where's that bike? Do you still got any of this stuff? And if it, you know, and I was thinking about doing a replica of that bike because, like I said, NHRA called a couple of years ago and wanted to know if I still had that bike. You know,
the real bike.
The real bike got sold to a guy in where's the place you went vacation at?
Puerto Rico?
In Puerto Rico.
The original bike.
Yeah.
But I'm tell you something what was so funny. We was 1997. I might be 98. And we was at the PMRA World Final. And my bike was actually down in Colorado Far in St. Louis. So I was riding another guy's bike. And Tom had built the guy's bike and he was kind of fussing about it because it wasn't running the number he thought it should run. And I said, Larry, you kind of got the, you know, if I got number grade A, you got, you know, same thing I got pretty much, you know, it's pretty much same bike, same chassis, same guy made chassis, same setup, everything pretty much. But he wasn't riding the bike. So a lot of people ask for a lot of power, and when they get it, they don't know what to do with it. And even when I first got my second time big top bike, the bike really flew fast, and it was just had so much power. The bike didn't run what everybody thought it ran. It ran fast, way faster than what I thought it would run. But when they see another guy, they tell me bike with another guy running 750s, they thought my bike should have been 750s or faster. The bike would run that. But I couldn't ride it that year. It was my first pass. But I went 70s or 770s on it. And they said, Tom, we got to do something about that bike. That bike is not, I said, it's not the bike. It's me. And that power is different. You know, it's a different feel. And, but man, it was so crazy because Larry out of Wichita. So I tell my Larry, it ain't the bike, man. I said, it's the rider, you know. No, I think Tom got me. I said, no, Tom didn't get you. I said, just bring the bike down here. You know, I'm still good on the points, and I'm trying to, you know, I said, it'd be a good thing. I'll ride it. I'll put my gears for me, and I'll ride the bike. That way I can still win the championship because I'm in the points lead and all that. And so he brings the bike down. We set it up, and I get on it. And the first pass, man, I ran on it, man. When it's 740, man, the guy on it, he was happy. Because he thought Tommy got him.
He blamed you for it?
Yeah.
He thought Tommy got him. So when he said he seen that, man, he was stuck. So we riding throughout the race that day, and man, we burned up 2 pistons. We ain't got another motor. We ain't got spare parts. So Tom leaves the track, go all to the shop, take him to the city, get the shop and get some spare parts. So we come back and we working on it, got it towed down and clean it up and put it all back together. We started up and it's smoking. It's smoking bad, but it sounds good though. So Tom looked at it, he said, well, I don't know. And Tom kind of laughed like, well, we're going to see what it's going to do. So we get out there to the track and I was racing this guy. And his wife said, oh, it's going to be an easy one because it's back to blow up. It's smoking really bad, you know. So we get on the line, man, and dude, man, you talking about it smoked. But when I let the clutch go, it didn't smoke no more. And we went down to there, man. Hey, blowed him away. And we had Big Smack pistons in it, Big Smack parts. Did nothing fit.
Nothing fit, just
We just stuck them in there. You know what I mean? And Tom said, man, they don't mix, man. But, you know, someone was turbo. I think one of them was turbo pistons. And the other one was, you know, was whatever it was. We said they close. We stuck them in there. And it, bike still was 760s.
Where'd you get the skill to make them go fast? Was it from, you didn't go to school to do this, just on the streets? What?
Yeah, I went to school.
Tell me about it.
I went to work at the Honda dealer, and
This in California still.
in California, and working at the Honda dealer got me sharp because I went to work when I was 17, and so I'm working at the Honda dealer, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff there. I'll go get a job there. My dad dropped me off at work. And I'm thinking I'm going to work on motorcycles and build motorcycles. The guy had me painting bathrooms and cleaning floors and getting stuff ready for the other mechanics and stuff. So I was mad. I was about to quit. And then, and one day, about 2 months into the job, he asked me, he said, can you really work on these things? I said, yeah, and he gave me a Honda Express to work on. And the job paid, because it was, flag hours, it paid $15 to put it together. And he came back, he left and went out of town, and he came back and I had 10 of those little Honda scooters done. He said, so he looked back at the guys and the head mechanics and stuff, and the head mechanics, he said, you guys put all these together, you guys put all these bikes together? And he said, the guy named was Fred. And he said, no, Tom did all of them bikes. He said, Tom did all of them? And after then, he took me from all the bathroom duties and put me back there as a mechanic. The thing that the guy named is Fred Rudin, I'll never forget him. He came and I got on the main line, so I was a mechanic. And then he was a jokester, have fun and everything. And he came to me back and just when, because I was 17, so school was starting. He said, then back then they let you fill out the application, but you didn't. I put my age on there. I put my age and said I was 18. And then after him hanging around me, he knew that I was. He said, Tom, you can't work here. You got to go to school. I said, so what do you want me to do, Fred? And, I got all this work over here I got to do. He said, well, I can't let you do it because, I'm not gonna keep you here because I don't want you dropping out of school, but I need you to go back to school. And I went back to school, and when I went back to school, I went to Lock High in LA, and when I went back, they had just came across. They had just started doing these programs where they had trade school.
Oh, good.
They just started it. So when I got there, they said, well, they gave me, I had first and second period and third, and the rest of them was at LA Trade Tech downtown. Well, shucks, it was easy. They said, well, what classes you want? I looked at the thing, the LA Trade Tech. I was like, oh, shucks, what can I do there? And so I looked at it and I said, well, I'll take this. I said, well, they said take art because I like to draw all the time then, draw motorcycles. You take, and then they had body shop, mechanic, auto mechanic. And the one class, I looked at it and it says motorcycles. Oh, I'm all in. I'm all in. So that was the beginning of my training right there. And when I went there, and the guy name was Art Smith. He was the head instructor there. By the time that I was, by the time towards almost the end of the summer, I was his go-to guy, everything. Tom. I was helping him, assisting him and doing the class because I already got motorcycle experience. So then the dealership was called California Honda. And then Fred called me and said, Tom, you want to come work on the weekend? And I said, yeah. So I went and worked on the weekends. And then when I graduated, because I graduated early, I graduated on the baseball field, it was dusty and stuff out there. And as soon as I left there, I rode a motorcycle there. I went to Fred and said, I'm here to work now all the way. And Fred was so happy. The first thing he did was send me to Honda training, and they did Yamaha school. I went everywhere,
Cool.
and then they had a motorcycle school called Golden West, which ended up being, what's the school Deontay went to out in Florida?
Oh man, I forgot.
Anyway, I went to that motorcycle school, so my training was way better than my, sometimes my personality. I learned all of this stuff. I wouldn't just. I learned from some of the best mechanics that are in the world. Because one of the guys that I worked with, he worked at the Honda. He worked at American Honda, and worked in a road race team. So this guy was my foreman at California Honda. So I got to know all of. It wasn't an accident.
California's where motorcycles being.
Yeah. The thing about there was some schools he talking about though. Even at school, he talking my son went there. But they only
Deontay?
they only teach you the basics though. So this high performance stuff, so that came from on his own.
Then
Because they don't teach you.
it's just like right now, I kick myself sometime in the butt because you heard of Bartell's Harley, right? Ron Bartell was Bill Bartell's son. We all went to school together, and I always tease him about, dude, you was on the back row. And when I got out of when I went to work for California Honda, Bill and Ron courted me to see if to tell me to come to work for them at the Harley dealer. But I didn't want no parts of them Harleys then. And now look at me, I love all of that stuff, because I had knowledge of the Harleys from being around Sugar Bear.
So
Sugar Bear and another guy named James Pee Wee McCullough. So I learned from them guys. That's, so at 16 years old, that's where I was at 15, 16. I was there. I could have done a lot of stuff, but I liked the motorcycles. And then the performance end became from, I liked the race and all of that stuff. So, and a lot of the performance stuff is self-taught. That's where I get a lot of that stuff from. And like Kermit said, growing up in LA, and I quit working for the dealership when I turned 21, and I had my own little shop. So I had to learn. I wanted to race. So I learned how to make all of these things, tweak all of this stuff. So that's where I got all that from.
Now you mentioned Sugar Bear. You introduced me to him.
Correct.
And I've got to know him pretty well. So how'd you meet Sugar Bear?
I met Sugar Bear through Pee Wee, he had a shop on Western out there in LA called Pee Wee's Trim and Customs. And all he did was specialize in making Harleys cool. And he's in the Harley Davidson museum also.
Because you are as well.
Right. So he's there too. And Pee Wee, at that particular time, Harley used to come over Sugar Bear used to make these unique bikes, and the Harley people back then would like question these guys. Hey, what are you doing to them? What if we did this? What if you did this? Because a lot of a lot of these guys had input on when they made the first when they built the Softail. They built the Softail tailored around some of the bikes that we had back in California. Because the guy, I used to go by this other guy's shop also, and as a kid also, and he built. A lot of stuff come out of the black neighborhood that people don't understand. Like this guy named Benny Hardy. He built the bikes that Peter Fonda and Jack Nicholson Easy Rider bikes. He built these bikes right there in the hood. These bikes was built in the neighborhood. So I got to go by his shop a lot and see all of that stuff. So a lot of this stuff that you see me do is stuff that I done seen before, and I kept the creative mind.
Why'd you leave California to come to Oklahoma?
I always tell the guys, I came here in 92 to a Soul Brothers race, and I had so much fun, and that's where I met Kermit and all the other guys, and I had so much fun. And at the time in California, they was closing all the drag strips down, and the guy and I was a International Drag Bike Association tech guy, and I was racing NHRA 92. I left California at that time over 25 times, to come back this way, that way. And I'm racing NHRA and doing the drag bike thing. So I decided that I wanted to move in the center where I don't have to travel all day. And a bunch of guys, like Kermit and a bunch of other guys make me feel so much at home. That's how I came here.
So this became home.
This became home.
Yeah.
I was hoping to have your brother on, Smoke.
Yeah.
And you've got a family thing going on because your son rides, Deontay.
Yeah.
I don't think Lance rides, does he?
He don't race. He
Can't race.
rides, but he don't race. But with my brother Smoke now, him and Lance both, I bought them. They was 7 or 8 years old when I first bought their first dirt bikes for them. I was cutting yards, and I saved enough money to buy them some dirt bikes.
You bought him his first bike?
Yeah, I bought him the first bike and his second bike. Yeah, I bought him straight. My first bike. Yeah, and his second bike was a KZ1000. I think he was a junior high school by the end. Yeah, junior high school.
And how long has Deontay been doing this?
Well, Deontay started riding them little park rockets, them little YZR park rockets, little small ones, He started riding them when he was about 6 years old.
But racing, when did he start racing?
What, about 3 years ago, Tom?
Yeah.
About 3 years
Yeah,
old.
I didn't think it was very long.
Yeah, about 3 years.
I think I met you maybe at the Jeff Williams show
Yeah.
about, 15.
Yeah, because I was bugging the crap out of him. Like, get away. I said, "Dog, dude, you better come on over here."
We became fast friends, and you've been around my boys and I for a long time. I was looking before we got together, trying to find old videos, and I've got ones where we were at the track in 2015 is the far as I can go back, but
Yeah.
I know it's long before that. I was bringing the boys down the track and watching you guys run.
Yeah.
And my kids were young in those videos.
Think about it, when Tom came to town, it was a lot of racing going on. He put the PMRA together, that association, he put that together. Because before, the only race we had here was the Soul Brother. So it was only one time a year. What was it, September or something like that? So it was on that one. So a lot of guys would never even bring their bikes out
Until
then. And that was just that one time a year. So when Tom came, he seen that and he just put the PMRA together, and then we just been doing it ever since,
When did the season start?
March.
So pretty soon.
Yeah, it starts in March.
Your bike's ready?
Yeah, bike's ready. Yeah, we getting my son ready. He's building he got a funny bike now, so we putting it together now, trying to get him ready. So You're gonna see. Should be an exciting year. It's gonna be, it's gonna be interesting. See what's going on.
I told the story before we got started. At church Sunday at Crossings in the big service at 11 o'clock, the preacher named Bill Search, and he was talking about your needs in life and friends. One I was, do you have somebody that if you called them in the middle of the night, they'd respond? And you two are those guys in my life that I know that if I called you guys for anything, you'd be here. So
it's mighty fun because I'm the one, I get on the highway all the time. I've taken cars and motorcycles, and tell them, I got a bike sold and I need you to take it. Okay, where's it going? Mississippi. Okay, I'm gone. Slow it up. I'm out. And but when it comes to stuff like that, we know what needs to be done. And we do it.
And then just to give you a prime example, lately I've been sick, going through a lot of changes and stuff. And you guys showed me the love because y'all come when I couldn't move. You guys was over there visiting. I really appreciate the chicken pot pie.
Your chocolate pie too.
Yeah, well, I hadn't ate in 3 weeks. So this illness we're gonna kick it.
We gotta kick it. Yeah.
Before we close this, you also build some badass baggers.
Oh yeah.
So let's just touch on that just for a minute. So when did you start doing that? 'Cause that's a radical departure from building fast bikes.
Well, we started doing that. We started doing those in 2014. And it was something that one of them deals we all had high boosters, and Kermit's got a ZX14. They was cool. And then we just like and then when we seen the bikes with the big wheels on them, that took me back to my early days, 10, 11 years old with the bikes with the big wheel and the swing, knee action with the homemade forks and stuff.
Yeah.
So when it came to that, it was a natural. So since then we done built a bunch of unique baggers, and our first we built a bunch of bike. We call them streetable custom bikes, but we got our we had out of our shop, we had one of the first bikes out of Oklahoma and the national bagger magazine. So we were happy about that.
And you're still building baggers down there today.
Yeah.
And just to plug, it's Tombow Racing. We talked about you being Tommy Bolton, but your company's Tombow Racing, right?
Yeah.
Tombow Racing Engines. Which one?
Just Tombow Racing.
And what's your website?
TombowRacing.com.
All right. Well, today it's kind of fun to have my friends. Kermit, thank you for being here.
Appreciate you having us, man.
Tommy, I love you guys very much.
It's been good to us.
It has been, but this is Let Out the Clutch by my biker attorney. Thanks, guys.
Sir.